Welcome to the Will Forum, Forum for Women in Leadership. And we are going to continue our Will Advisory Board series, where we interview our Will Advisory Board members. For the past 15 years, the Will Forum has been working with high dedication, high impact, and a lot of success in closing what I call the very dismal gender leadership gap, the gender equity gap, the gender pay gap, the gender governance gap. And women are 50% of the global population, and there is no need for these gaps to be completely there because there is no business case for the gender leadership gap. In fact, the business case is of the as early as 2007, when we started the Forum for Women in Leadership, there was absolutely no appetite for women in leadership or inclusivity or diversity or balanced leadership. But we kept on making the business case, and we kept on influencing mindsets, and we kept on building communities so that we are where we are today at the Will Forum. We have more than 6,000 men and women participating. We have over 200 companies. We have certified 1,000 Will mentees. We have certified 300 women for boards, and we have the Willa app. It's an app on Google for women in leadership, and it's also on Apple Store. Today, we are delighted to have with us Mr. Balaji Viswanathan, who is the Managing Director of Expleo Solutions with a very distinguished career. We are very pleased and most honored to have him on the Will Advisory Board. Welcome, Mr. Balaji.
Thanks so much, Poonam, and it's indeed a privilege for me to be part of the Will Advisory Board. And I've been seeing the kind of good work that the Will Forum has been doing, and some of my colleagues who have actually been part of the Will Forum, training programs and mentoring programs. The kind of value that the forum actually adds, and the kind of industry participation that the forum has been, driving. And it's indeed a privilege for me to be there as part of this. And I personally, and as Expleo, we firmly believe in whatever you mentioned. There is really no reason for having a gender gap. There is no reason for having any specific business case or driving factor to have any gap between genders, or for that matter, any other diversity as well, whether it's sexual orientation or anything else as well. Indeed, like what you mentioned, if there is anything else, then we are leaving out a significant population if we were to actually practice any of those. So it's indeed an important agenda and important element for us in Expleo to drive the equality and the equity, in each one of our businesses and in the forums that we actually represent. So thank you so much for having me in this.
So what is it that drives a CEO every day? What is it that makes you go to your priorities and your mission, and how do you outline them? We have our mission and vision statements, which are very clearly defined in terms of what we want to be, because we have our businesses, we have our customers. If there is anything which keeps us motivated, it's the passion and the desire for making sure that we make a difference in our customers and in the society that we live in, and that's what is actually an important element for us. So as Expleo, our important objective is to be a consulting and a digital transformation partner for our customers, primarily focused on technology transformation and process transformation, because the thing that we pride ourselves about is the understanding of the industry that we work in, and not just work on the technology and make the technology relevant for our customers. The constant endeavor is to make sure that we blend the industry knowledge and the domain expertise along with the technical expertise, both in the engineering and research and development and in the regular tech services space. Our constant endeavor is to make sure that we look at what the changing trends are in the market. How do we make sure that we equip ourselves to support our customers in their transformation journey? And transformation is, while digital transformation is a buzzword nowadays, but transformation is something which is
a constant feature. I'm sure that right since the human race was found, every other moment is actually a transformation from the previous moment. So it's not the same. So that's what our objective is. And that's what keeps me going as well.
Very nice. So, as the CEO, one of the things that even I said, I think as early as 2013 in one of our annual conferences, and it's up on YouTube, that the CEO must lead the women's agenda. If the CEO does not lead the agenda for women in leadership and equal opportunity, it's actually not going to cascade down the organization. If it is given to a CSR, or a diversity or an HR, it becomes a sort of a sidelined thing, which also needs to be done. How is it that somebody like you leads it from the? How is it that we can tell other CEOs what is it that they need to do to lead it from the front, like yourself?
For us, and not just me, actually, even if I were to look at our group, which is headquartered in France, our CEO sitting there as well, diversity and inclusion is one of the prime agendas. This is not a tick in the box. This is not something which we want to do just for the sake of, covering some LinkedIn posts or YouTube videos. This is an agenda which we firmly believe will make our workplace better. Will make our what we deliver to our clients better. So this is not something which is one of the tasks. This is one of the important agenda or the mission statements for us. So if we keep this as a mission, and if we keep this as a focus, deliverable, actually. For the last 3 years or so, we actually have in my own KPIs as well as one of the key criteria on diversity and inclusion. And it's the same for my boss who sits out of France as well. So to that extent, this is not something which is just another tick in the box. And this should not be a tick in the box either. And this is a very, very important element for us to make sure that we get the maximum out of what we have with us, what we have in the society, what we have as a talent, what we have as, the kind of virtue and the wisdom, that the diversity actually brings in. It's not just a question of, having 33%, which is what the government actually talks us about. It's not the question of 30% or 33%. It's the question of how do we make sure that we get the maximum out of the talent, wisdom, and the virtue that will actually drive the transformation in our workplace and for our customers as well.
Would you recommend KPIs being linked in other companies to the CEO's position?
Of course, yes. It certainly makes sense in having it as a KPI when we start the journey, but it can't be driven just by KPIs, because it has to be something which is a mindset. It's something which has to be part of the culture. It can't be just KPI driven. KPI is probably will drive some sense or importance, in the initial days, but it has to be a culture that has to be nurtured. It can't be just a KPI driven measure. But to start with, maybe some numbers and some targets would probably drive people towards that mindset, but it can't be just driven by that, because if it is only driven by that, then people will strive to get the numbers right, but the underlying value of this could be missed. And this is ended a qualitative measure, right? It's how much ever you drive numbers, because as much as I say this, we all know where the challenges are. We don't have too much of a challenge in getting the right number of diversity candidates within the system at the entry level. But it's the question of how do we make sure that we help enable and drive a career path for all of them as well. I mentioned this in the last Will Forum that we talked about as well. This is the same as what we call it as affirmative action in the society, or the reservations in what we practice here in India. It can only get you to a starting point. That's not going to get you the objective. At the end of the day, you have to believe in it. You have to have the passion and drive to you know, get this as part of your mission, vision, culture?
The mission and the culture part I understand, but how do you actually, mindset also I understand, which has two components, exposure and experience. But, I gave a talk in San Diego some time ago, and my topic was, it's not about D&I, it's about DNA. How can we change the DNA of the company? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Actually, the way I look at it is that every individual, including myself and every one of my team members, like what you said, DNA is something which is inbuilt. So as a society, as a culture, there is a lot that we need to do to make sure that we understand, the importance of, diversity and nurturing the diversity, making sure that we get the maximum. I would say that it's the question of tapping the potential. It's the question of, getting value out of what is there underneath, right? It's, just like how we say the amount of natural resources that we have, or the amount of, technology and innovation that we can actually bring in. And what we are doing is, by not including everybody or having a mindset saying that this is not going to work or that's not going to work, or try and, have our own natural inherent biases, taking over some of the business senses. What we are doing is we are actually losing out on what is the potential, what you would be able to drive both. And for me, it's more a business rather than it's not just a question of getting the numbers right. It's just a question of getting the business value. And this is what I would say that, will drive, the amount of patience, the amount of wisdom, which we get from the gender diversity is vast. It's really huge, and that would change the way we treat our people, the way we actually engage with our customers, the way we engage with the society at large as a company. And that's what I see as a business value, and that's the DNA that we need to change. It's very hard to change the DNA in one shot, because it's actually a transformative process. It's not going to change by having somebody as the CEO for 5 years, and then after that, okay, now since I have this as one of my key agenda items, that's going to change the culture of the organization. It has to happen as a society. The people whom we are bringing in as our leadership, whether it is men or women, what they see for themselves, what they see as the gender gap, or what they see as the value. And that's what we are trying to drive by having our own internal forums. And each one of us know, the value, right? We all have our mothers, we have our sisters, we have our spouses, and we all know what kind of value, we derive out of this. And it's a no-brainer, in my opinion. But it's the question of making sure that we consciously make an effort.
But, I just want to mention a quotation that I use a lot, that the business of business is business. So anything that's not giving business value, or is perceived to be not giving business value, will not be pushed.
Absolutely.
Now, we have made the business case over and over and over again, not myself, but every forum from Harvard to, large universities. So the business case has been made. The value is there for everybody to see. And I think that the gap might be the DNA that needs to be changed to embrace the business case.
That's a societal change that we need to bring in.
Well, society is fine. I do want to say that it will take many hundreds of years to change society. So my focus will always remain on the company, and say, if you can just do it in your company, somehow not have women leave, not drive out the potential of women, not drive out the talent of women, not downshift the women, society will then maybe change, because we cannot change as fast as a company.
As the company would change, obviously. We are only a microcosm of what.
So what do you advise women who are looking for a seat on the table? What do you think they should do?
One is that, the most important element is that they should have the confidence. If they feel that they're actually going to be, if they inherently feel that they're at a disadvantage, then that's going to actually have that manifests in the kind of confidence that they would exhibit. When if they want the seat in the table, they should be bold enough to speak, and for that we need to have a culture where we allow people to speak. And there is really this is not a mathematical formula or a physics formula where there is a right or a wrong. But it's a question of how you are able to drive the business strategy, how you are able to drive the business decisions, how you are able to bring about what you think the company should do. Because most of the seat at the table is actually coming out of what kind of business direction that you could actually bring in, where you can actually add value, how you'd be able to help us grow the business, improve profitability. It could be any of those elements. And in that, there is no 100% right or wrong. It's a question of what is right at that particular point of time, what could be the priority at that particular point of time. And there, it's the question of having that confidence. That's one big element, which I would say. The next one is how well you are able to articulate yourself, the communication of how well you are able to articulate, how precise you can actually get to in terms of your communication. And the third element is that to know your own company and your own industry. You need to read a lot, you need to engage with people a lot, you need to engage with forums. I'm not talking about the leadership forums. I'm talking about the industry forums. We are in technology industry. It could be NASCOM, it could be CII, it could be any of those kind. How do you engage there? How do you make sure that you understand what perspectives each company has got? And believe it or not, for us as a company, we have enough and more competition, right? So how does the competition operate? All those are knowledge and wisdom which you will be able to bring to the table. So that's, I would say, the combination of confidence, communication, and awareness of what your industry is, and how you would be able to drive the discussions on the table.
Well, these are really good points, and I think everybody should remember them. The level of confidence that you can generate and demonstrate, that women can demonstrate, not just generate. Yeah. And also the capacity to communicate, which is actually a way of saying, can you influence somebody's mind? Customer or a producer or the employees, can you influence the stakeholder? And the third one, of course, which you're saying, engage with industry forums, which could also very well be called, I call it shared engagement. I don't like the word networking, so we call it shared engagement. Can you actually engage in shared engagement? So these are very good points. And one of the things that I think that I've always said in my many research reports is that one of the reasons why women don't have confidence is because there is a gender context to leadership. Leadership is not the same for men and women, not because the DNA is different, because the ecosystem is different. So the way you manifest your leadership is different. And it's hard. There's a gender context. Women are in a minority quite often. So you will see that their confidence level is not so easily demonstrated. It's hard when you're in a minority. You could be shot down easily. I'm saying that because we have 1,000 mentees and this is what I hear. So it's a difficult ball game. I mean, do you really change the ecosystem first, or do you get the confidence first? Which one, Mr. Balaji?
I would say confidence. See, it's the question of which comes first, chicken or egg, right? But in my opinion, it's the question of confidence. If you want to be the catalyst for the change, then you need to have the confidence, and that is something which is what I think the forums like yours or any other women mentorship programs would probably try and drive, because it's if we wait for the ecosystem to change, we can wait forever, and the ecosystem will never see the need for that change, and it's the question of how you are able to drive that change as well. Yeah. And I would say it's the question of how you are able to first get that confidence, not get intimidated, make sure that you make sure that your voice is heard, and you demand an answer if the voice is not heard. All those are stuff which we need to make sure, one is, of course, as a company, we need to make sure that we have it in our culture. And more importantly, it's the question of how the women leaders will be able to, grow up the ladder. And that confidence is something which we have to, one is it has to be inherent. The other one is how people like us and the forums like yours will actually be able to help them gain that confidence and speak up.
Yep. It's good. There's only one way to gain confidence. I've said it for 15 years. You just have to understand what is your capability, what is your power, and then you have to release it. Women often don't get the time to do that introspection a lot because they are burdened with many other things. But when they do, the power of self is there for everybody to see. Now,
Absolutely.
Can everybody handle the power of self that the women are exhibiting? You know what I'm saying? And that's where your communication part comes in. Are you communicating your power of self in the way it should be? So it's non-threatening. We have to think of so many things. Is my power of self threatening anybody? Is it minimizing somebody's presence? So you get to the second point. And I just wanted to say, I think that Expleo is very, very fortunate that they have somebody like yourself who understands all of these, including the third part, the industry forums part, which I call shared engagement, because now, and I actually believe that coming in the future, it won't be industry forums, it will be communities. Communities will lead. Industry forums will begin to just be industry forums. It's communities, and the social media has created volumes of communities. Like the Will Forum is a community. It's really nothing. It's a community. So communities will be the ones where shared engagement is going to come. And I think women would actually find it easier to engage with communities. And those will be the leaders. So, I think Expleo is very fortunate that they get to hear somebody like yourself. Is there any particular best practice you want to share from Expleo with our audience that you think they should pick up? For example, do you have an e-communication newsletter where people can talk to you about these things? Is there something, or like a breakfast meeting? Any particular?
So we have three-tiered approach in this. One is where we have open forums where people like me and our CEO and some of the senior leadership engage with the teams, and there we actually have a specific agenda about diversity per se. And the second one is that we have a very strong team that we have actually found. Some of the people whom you're interacting, a team of close to around 18 to 20 people across all the three main locations that we have got. While we have 5 different locations, where their primary objective is to make sure that they identify programs, identify speakers, or significant leaders who actually could come and speak to them, give them that confidence. The third one is we have specific women or diversity focused confidence building programs, which we started around 2 years back. We have had more than close to around 90 odd mid-level leaders who have actually gone through that forum, that particular training program, which primarily talks to them about how do they build confidence, how do they actually create their own personal image, how do they actually talk about their own personal branding per se, and how do they become more visible by writing in LinkedIn's or many of the other social forums as well. And then the fourth and the other one is to make sure that we are actually able to address this at the grassroots level, where we have engagement leaders in each one of the forums. And those are not leaders. When I say those are not leaders, and what I mean is these are not, by designation wise, they are not leadership, but they are people who are extroverts who are happy to engage with people, identify a set of close to around, each location has around 15 to 20 people who are primarily focused on that. How do they engage with people? How do they actually communicate? They become the communication channel for us from the leadership, also to communicate what we would like to do, where we are, what we would like to hear from them, and an open forum where we hear feedback from this particular forums on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis. So there are multiple things that we could do. We are still, I would say that we are not a very large organization. At the same time, we are not a small organization. We are close to 5,000 people here in India right now. Close to 1,800 or people are actually 1,800 of them are women colleagues of ours. But the challenge that we would see is probably very similar to what you would see in any other industry as well. How do we make sure that we are able to see more people at the senior levels, more women at the senior levels, and that's something which we are trying to drive through these agenda of having specific mentorship and training programs for the mid-level and the entry-level leaders to build their confidence and their self-branding.
Yeah, it's not such a problem, I have to say, and you're very right, whether the company is small or it has 4 lakh people or whether it's got 30,000, it's really the same. So I do agree with you. It doesn't matter. But I don't think it's that difficult to put women in leadership positions. And
absolutely, not at all.
For some other day, if you wish, but it's not difficult. This I know. You got to just... and it doesn't even take a lot of mentoring. The women are so aspiring. The women are so ready. I'm saying this because I know, because I write about it. I talk to them. They're so ready. They're looking for the opportunity. They want somebody to say, try this. It's not, and the other thing is, therefore, the other track is the ecosystem. The ecosystem needs to be equal. And I think that that's really critical, because otherwise, how are the women ever going to shine if it's not equal? So I actually don't think it's a tough thing. I don't think it's just from my point of view. And I've always said this for 15 years, it's not a supply side problem. A problem with women leadership is a demand side problem. There is not enough demand. Once the demand comes, the opportunities are put in front of them. I don't think you will find the women lacking in any way. This I can say without a doubt, because that's the forum we run, and so we have the insights. And there are many women who approach us all the time, looking for new opportunities at the top level. And I think they find the Will Forum a safe place to have conversations. And so that is why, the safe atmosphere gives them the capacity, and that's how I know what they are aspiring to. So I will close the discussion, I think, on this very wonderful note, that it's not as far away as we think it is. The women hiring CEOs like you will be what I call new era CEOs. If we have the women aspiring, and if we got new era CEOs like yourself, I really don't see where the equation stops. You got the demand and you got the supply.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Thanks so much. And
so
once
thank
again,
you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Yes. Most delighted to have this conversation with our new Will Advisory Board member, very distinguished, Mr. Balaji Viswanathan. We will take your leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Poonam.
All right.